Welcome to the latest installment of the Creeping Rainbow in Comics. Today we're looking at My Antonia. Not the title character of the Willa Cather novel dealing with the 1900s. I looked up the Wikipedia entry on that just to see if there was any similarity. There is none, and that book looks boring as hell. I don't recommend it. This, rather, is a character from the late 1980s who may or may not have gender dysphoria. We don't know this for sure because this doesn't come from the 2020s where a character can just pop out and say, I'm trans, right? Like Dr. McGowan in the Incredible Hulk, or rather, Immortal Hulk series. This is rather a character from the late 1980s series Time Masters. Now, Time Masters was a reimagining of the DC character Rip Hunter Time Master. If you're familiar with that name, it's probably because you've encountered him on DC's show Legends of Tomorrow on the CW. But this is not that particular Rip Hunter. This Rip Hunter is a scientist who is disgruntled after a secret society called the Illuminati, no relationship to anything Marvel, has tampered with his projects and caused his experiments to fail, and now he wants to go through travel through time, find out their origins, and wipe them out. Now, while Rip is assembling his crack team of time travelers, one of his associates, the young Corky Baxter, stumbles across this Tony character who is scoping out Rip's cousin's car. The car is a Lamborghini, and Tony's basically says, I just saw a really cool Lamborghini out there, and I wanted to take a look at it, and then got tackled. And Rip is basically saying, why shouldn't we turn you over to the police? Tony explains, so I've been connected, and it's a bum rap with a couple of stolen cars. The cops would crucify me. Tony then goes to the computer and says, look, I'll show you, hacking into the police database. There's my record. All lies, of course. And Jeff, Rip Hunter's associate, says, your name's Antonia? At which point she responds, Tony! My name is Tony! Okay. We move on to the next scene in which Rip asks, where'd you learn to use a computer? Obviously impressed by her hacking skills. And Tony replies, high school. I used to stay after class, sometimes way after class. Computers are okay. They never lie to you. All right, so here we've got a bit of a look from these panels and this dialogue into the psyche of this character, Tony. Now, Tony is somebody who obviously feels that she's been lied about. She also feels that she's been lied to, and she's very, very, very sensitive about what she's called. She does not like her given name at all. Now, if you were a young man in the 1980s, as I was, you would read through this stuff and you really wouldn't think anything of it. You would just think that this was a very, very tomboyish character who really didn't like her given name. But today, now that the world has gone to hell in a trans basket, you could practically smell the gender dysphoria pouring off her. Now, does she actually have gender dysphoria? It's hard to say because it's not a theme that's explored anywhere in the later issues. The only things that happen involving Tony later on is that she gets sent back to the medieval past and fights alongside the Viking prince against the Illuminati. And then later in issue 7 basically says, I'm out of here. This whole thing is crazy. You ain't going to change history. The best we can do is try to change ourselves. I'm going home. Now, is this some sort of clue that she intends to go on some sort of transitioning process when she gets home? Well, again, back then, that was not something that was normally discussed. It wasn't something that was even really thought of. So, the last that we see of Tony in issue number 8 is that her sister comes to pick her up and they go home and they watch some television together. And that is the last that you see of the character Tony. But I just wanted to bring up this character because, number one, I did not remember this character in the slightest. That is how under the radar this character was able to slip back in the day. That when I go back and I think about the trans characters and the gay characters and the other LGBTQ characters that I might be interested in covering, this character didn't come up at all. So back in the day, it was not necessarily obvious what the authors were intending to put in there. Now, I happen to think that there's got to be at least some gender dysphoria going on with this kid, not just from the outward presentation, but also from the fact that she is just absolutely so sensitive about her name. But again, it may or may not be. She's always addressed as a female character in the comic. But again, that's something that may or just simply may or may not have been dealt with. But anyway, this is one of the comics that I read during my childhood, and so I thought that it would be a good thing to share with in my Creeping Rainbow in Comics series. So I hope you've enjoyed this little installment, and keep the subscription button clicked on to make sure that you get notifications for when I come out with the next installment. And also, you can catch my other videos on politics, religion, other comic book matters. I'm Mike Partika. This has been the Creeping Rainbow in Comics. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.